Sometimes it's nice to take a step back from the serious stuff and have fun with politics, let loose a little. So I downloaded Truth Social. For the people living under a rock, Truth Social is a social media service, go figure, run by Trump Media and Technology Group. It was launched in February of 2022 and served on paper as a kind of free speech app. In reality, it is a deeply conservative, Trumpist-oriented service. I mean, there are literally no liberals in the suggested column, and I just set up the account today. A Pew Research poll, released on November 18th of 2022, found that 2% of Americans regularly consume content on Truth Social, with 27% having heard of the social media service. The traffic by itself warrants at least a quick glance, or in my case, a torturous experience. As I stated before, this video was originally supposed to be fun, but my curious perusing quickly devolved into a deeply anxious examination of the platform. From the jump, you expect Truth to be a safe place for the angry mouth breathers of America, and it's that completely. But let's just say the mouth breathers are up to something. Or in kinder terms, whatever is going on here definitely has the makings of a new and very strange piece of discourse that leftists should probably pay attention and maybe prepare for. Truth has been viewed as a joke by the left, and I thought it was naive to write it off as such. But I went into this with kind of the same preconceived notions of the platform. Unfortunately for us, it actually has a decent amount of potential, and we really need to talk about it. It's best to begin with the humdrum explanation of the Truth interface. Don't worry, this will be super quick. Bear with me here. The Truth interface completely rips off Twitter. But outside of the general details, it has a simple algorithm, only providing you with content from those that you follow, and a limited list of functions. The app is split into four main functions. The feed, which has all the content that I was just talking about, the search page where you can look for profiles, truths, and hashtags, alerts, which notifies you when anything you've said is liked and retweeted, or when you've been mentioned. And lastly, we have the messages, where I assume the most mentally stable individuals on the internet come together in 1v1 combos about totally non-extreme content. I think being like one of the three leftists in the service will definitely give me some crazy content in the future. Let's cross our fingers. It's no surprise, though, that the actual discourse that's taking place on Truth Social is like a highlight reel of all the Trumpist comments you have to endure during your day-to-day life. Instead of an array of topics coming in and out like a revolving door, the space is dominated by a handful of staples, such as election fraud, Trump worship, the border crisis, and transphobia, all interlaced with a healthy dose of conspiracy theories. These topics are discussed in the background of current issues, which are mainly introduced through dubious articles and accounts with questionable integrity. As you can tell, the accounts on Truth Social love taking part in inflammatory discourse. The bad faith is so concentrated that I can't even fathom how Trumpists even continue to take part in it. It takes a toll on your mental health. The honest truth about the service is that it is missing all of the crucial aspects of a healthy online space. But it isn't just a well-produced echo chamber barely succeeding as a viable alternative to pre-Elon Twitter. It's something entirely new. It can be easily inferred that among the more vitriolic echo chambers, the Trumpist echo chamber is by far the most popular. Truth Social is the most formal manifestation of Trumpism. The two are hardly indistinguishable. It's effectively a piece of shit crammed into a golden frame. People rarely view the painting and the frame as two separate things. When you combine arguably the largest of the specific brands of unprincipled discourse and channel it through a sophisticated service, where this particular echo chamber has free reign over all of its bells and whistles, the methods of delivering vitriol and cultivating it evolve. Innovation meets inflammation. Trumpists aren't stupid. They're not going to ignore the writing on the wall with truth. They will begin to optimally use the platform. Some questions need to be asked, however, and answered, to determine whether this prediction holds water. First off, it's worth wondering if Truth has enough activity or interaction to fuel this kind of perverse innovation. Is there enough gas in the tank? As I stated before, Truth has almost 7 million users, including your boy Era, 1.7 of which are active. It also has the support of not only Donald Trump, who is unfortunately still insanely rich, but also his very wealthy allies. Truth has the capital backing to ensure it against a Parler-type situation. And given the fact that Parler doesn't really have the capability to compete, we might actually see Truth siphon away activity from Parler when updates begin to roll out. Parler has nearly 1 million active users, many of which will migrate completely onto Truth when Parler breathes its last spiteful breath. Given the fact that Parler is in financial freefall, can't find any viable buyers, and has been ostracized from the lion's share of server hosting services. Its ability to operate as a going concern will prove to be difficult. Meanwhile, in places like 4chan, with over 22 million users visiting monthly, it's increasingly becoming obsolete. I mean, it hasn't received a major update since CAPTCHA in 2013. The inflow from 4chan will probably be moderate, though, due to its low user base. The other noteworthy factor that I mentioned before is that the truth interface can be improved to include many more functions that exponentially increase the activity. The updates combined with the 2024 election will at least maintain the momentum, letting the Trumpists bide their time until the day where truth reaches its critical mass. As of right now, it seems like there are very few signs of evolution in the production of vitriol, however, so we gotta keep that in mind. Trumpists interact with its content with what I can describe as confident hatred. Anything goes. And in all honesty, these comment sections are the equivalent of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. You gotta keep in mind though that this is the crucial element behind their political utility. One of these days, especially when the service increases the modes of interaction, insults and talking points will rise to the top. It becomes staples that permeate to broader discourse. Instead of throwing shit at the wall, maybe they'll throw it at the fan and get it all over everybody else. In my humble opinion though, judging from the sleekness of the service and the level of control that the movement has over it, it's not a matter of if this kind of evolution will happen. It could be a matter of when. When it does occur, the real questions would be what this vitriolic innovation would be like and how it would influence politics. Please keep in mind that this is all a lofty prediction of things to come. We're really getting into the hypothetical weeds right now. The drivel that takes place on truth in the present is going to serve as the foundation for changes and outcroppings of Trumpist discourse in the future. What we'll see won't be a carefully engineered message of the various conservative think tanks that calculate how to poison the well of discourse with scientific precision. It'll probably be a barrage of seemingly unprincipled hot takes that tickled the fancy of Trumpists. In the end, it's unfortunate that we'll have to deal with this additional slew of unfettered hate from a protected platform. But all of this pales in comparison to truly innovative hate. The question we just asked before really wants to hone in on what improvements will come out of this unique place, not the idiotic sputterings of bored boomers. That development is something we'll have to wait to see in the future. If you're interested though in some of the off-the-cuff ideas, stick around for a bit. I'll go through them. If Truth Social were to influence discourse in a meaningful way by innovating Trumpism, it would have to step up its role as the formal meeting place for the Trump flank of conservatism. As I noted before, the service lends legitimacy to the echo chamber in the eyes of its participants. It looks like a well-made, yet simple social media service, and to a Trumpist, it seems like the toy was made for them. From a broader standpoint, an ideal environment was created for coordination and focused interaction, which themselves might lead to ideological development. It's safe to assume, though, the ideology will congregate there naturally over time, and be inevitably altered by it, maybe in a good way, perhaps in a bad way. If activity grows and the modes of communication are improved upon, viewpoints will deepen. The points themselves might remain the same intrinsically, however, the delivery of them will definitely become more eloquent, strategic even. Think of Let's Go Brandon and Hands Off My Kids on steroids. There are going to be savvy Trumpists out there who understand that Trumpism is still a proto-ideology, with a load of optics issues. Using future updates or even the vanilla app, discourse will shift to more productive conversations, specifically conversations regarding the trajectory of the movement. This will hopefully be slowed down by the culture within Trumpism. Vitriol has an ugly habit of chasing away level-headed thinking. But if the torch is taken up by even a handful of Trumpists on the platform, a match might be lit that could cause a resurgence. Talking points will be naturally or purposely created. Organizations and associations might form out of the DM section of truth. All of this together will grow the influence that Trumpism will have on broader discourse, culture, and politics. The purported method utilized by conservative organizations in the past has been the dog whistle. I mentioned before that the MAGA ideology doesn't have the capabilities to use this method, yet. The important thing to keep in mind about the propagation of tech as a whole is that it gives people access to capabilities formerly used by more sophisticated organizations, such as think tanks. Truth has a lot of flaws in its interface, yet it is still a potent resource for improving interaction. That is the whole point of social media in the first place. If and when the aforementioned conditions are met, the ideology will become privy to the tool that is the dog whistle, and perhaps reunite with the method that they originally turned their backs on in 2015. That's about as specific as I can get with my predictions. I hope that this will never grow more than a thought experiment, but the possibility is still there. As a leftist, it's worth it to try and understand the potential of our opponents. It's impossible to really figure it out, though. We don't have a looking glass into the future. The Trumpist echo chamber, or proto-ideology, has been handed something that will assuredly change its nature. We as leftists are obligated to prepare for these changes, to grow and defend ourselves as an ideology. I'm going to leave this video off for here and open up the floor to y'all. Let me know your thoughts. I'll be off in the corner, ruining my mental health with Truth Social in the meantime. Next video is probably going to be part 2 of my intro to taxes as a leftist. Check it out at the end of this video, or when you get the chance. If you like this video, however, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.